Titans fans, hello and welcome to the Two Tone Crew. This is episode 151, and we are the official podcast of TitansReport.com. I'm John Boy. Jamal, join me once again. Welcome back, Jamal.
John, I'm barely here, and I don't mean that emotionally. I mean the internet gremlins are just getting worse and worse. I honestly don't know what to do here, but if I disappear, you're not missing much because my opinion on this team here, let me summarize it. That's my
And
input for the whole podcast.
Scotty's back. Can you sum up your opinion in one word, Scotty?
It's not far from that.
Yeah. I guess Jamal's wasn't even really a word, more of a sound. But yeah, so I don't know how long this is going to go tonight. Sometimes I think it's good to do that podcast quick right after the game. This is one of those times where I actually think it was good that we waited. We got some news today from Paul Kuharsky that pretty big topic of discussion. And I think that's probably a good place to start. So if you guys listening haven't yet seen the news that Paul Kuharsky reported, he had a report earlier today saying basically that Marcus Mariota was never fully healed from the hamstring injury, as well as sounds like the broken leg, the ankle issue from the Bengals game, I believe it was. A combination of all these things is that he's still not 100%. And then the big thing probably from all that is that it looks like he might need a cleanup surgery in the offseason, which there's a lot of panic, about him missing time again. And I mean, any surgery is not a good surgery. That means, there's something wrong and they're trying to fix. But cleanup surgeries, typically there's not that much rehab time involved with those. But still, and Scotty, I know you'd been trying to figure this out too this week, and really all of us trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Because there's a lot of things at work regarding this offense, and in particular the quarterback, and to see just how far he has seemingly fell in terms of performance. And honestly, that the injury thing doesn't surprise me at all, because there's clearly something that hasn't been right for a number of weeks. And we thought, after we saw how he performed in the second half, especially of the Colts game, okay, maybe a less mobile Mariota, maybe the offense is going to look more like this every week. And we haven't seen that. And I think you were speculating maybe it was the injury last season. And then now it seems like it could be a little bit of that, as well as the hamstring injury. So I wasn't surprised at all by this report. Some people are saying, oh, they're just covering for him. But I honestly don't think that at all. I think actually Malarkey and Mariota are saying everything's fine, but I don't buy it. How about you guys?
I think he's probably banged up and all that stuff's true. I don't have any way of knowing how much that's affecting his poor play. That's speculation, I guess.
Yeah.
They called some running plays. I mean, they thought he could run.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. If his hamstring is still not there, why are you calling running plays? And what do we gain? 7 yards at one point? I mean, he can run. But if he's not perfectly healthy, okay, maybe that's impacting him some. I don't think that's the majority of the problem. If you want to go to the route of saying missing the offseason is a big deal, that's hard to disprove. And it probably is a meaningful thing, but especially when you look at somebody like Derek Carr, who's also not doing as well as you might have expected. But I just don't think that explains the whole thing. I think there's more going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think it explains all of it either.
The article I posted with the Carson Palmer quotes, though, that's exactly what he's struggling with. Exactly what Carson Palmer talked about after the injury.
What were the things he talked about for those who didn't read it like me?
He said after he tore his ACL the next season, he was constantly thinking about the guys around his legs and feet, and he said he wouldn't set his feet and he would sell balls and throw interceptions. Literally described what Mariota's doing.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady had the same thing. His stats tumbled after he tore his ACL the next year.
Well, but that was after, career year that was significantly above anything he'd ever done before too, right?
They were below his average around that time
His
of his
average
career.
even?
Yeah, he threw. I think
Yeah.
he threw 28 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. That's terrible for Tom Brady.
The interceptions, it's like 2 weeks for Mariota these days. Yeah, it has to be meaningful, right? I mean, it was a concern coming into the season.
And
Like,
I'll admit, someone posted that he did look better at the beginning of the season, and that is true. But
mhm.
I don't know if his confidence. Definitely, his confidence has fallen. There's no way you can say his confidence has not fallen. He was shell shocked against the Cardinals, especially late in the game.
Yeah, this game, I mean, you've seen signs all along. You've talked about it. I've seen little signs here and there, but this game more than any other, I thought just there were so many plays, like you said, especially near the end of the game, where it was just like, man, this guy, he just looked, I don't know if I'd say terrified, but he just did not, he looked totally uncomfortable. And we talked last week, we talked about how the one kind of saving grace so far, regardless of how bad he's looked all year, when the game was on the line, he's always stepped up and looked great and performed well. This game, even when they got the ball back, I said, "This we're not going to win this." Even when they got the ball back the first time, when they had more time, and then they had to punt and call the 3 timeouts, and then they got it back again. Neither of those times was I at all confident that they are going to move the ball, just given the way things had went. I mean, you could just feel there was no way they were going to score.
I will defend him on something though. At the end, after watching the game again, Chandler Jones was destroying Dennis Kelly.
Oh yeah,
even when they tried to double team him, and he honestly was under duress on a lot of those plays. I mean, I still think he played poorly and kind of crumbled, but looking back, he not only was he getting pressured, but he was worried about the pressure.
And his demeanor was unlike what we're used to seeing from him on the sidelines. I mean, very downtrodden, off by himself, which, I mean, sometimes you just got to get away from everybody. And when you're losing, when you're putting up 7 points, of course, all these things are going to be hyper-analyzed to the nth degree. But yeah, it was just, especially late, it was not what we're used to seeing from Marcus. And as you alluded to there, Taylor Lewan went out of this game very early with an injury. That obviously had a huge impact given the types of players the Cardinals have, and that, Dennis Kelly's nowhere near what we have in Lewan. And I mean, this was a 7-point game for the Titans. I can't remember if we talked about on the podcast. Was it you, Scott, who talked about if you hold a team to like 13 points or something?
13 or
was that you?
Yes. If I think it was 13 or less,
you win like
80% of the time.
Yeah, an insane amount. And we hold them to 12. Jeez. I get why the defense was upset. I mean, that's the defense performance. If you run down, I mean, what do we have? 8 sacks? And really, you can't even attribute all 12 of the points to them. I mean, 3 points is pretty much on malarkey for the unbelievable attempt to go for it.
The interception on their end of the field, too.
Oh, yeah. So 6 points. Yeah, that's right. I mean, talk to us about that defense, Jamal, because they did what they've been doing against, bad offenses, but they looked great again. Uh-oh, did we lose him?
The defense, I'll go ahead and
say what he would have said.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he would have said is, man, the defense is way better than the offense. Okay, yeah, they are. The defense isn't competing against our offense, though. It'd probably be similar, though.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, of course, the Cardinals' offense is a joke. Blaine Gabbert was terrible. Yeah. I listened to a podcast today that talked about how Blaine Gabbert looked like he did with Jacksonville against the Titans. And, hey, give the Titans some of the credit, but, I mean, they had their third-string left tackle in there. They had their fourth-string running back. I mean, they did a good job, but it's hard to get excited about it.
Oh yeah, it's hard to get excited about them like long term or against good teams, but like in the context of this game, it's inexcusable the offense wasn't able to win.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And
And
go ahead.
honestly, this game was exactly like the Colts game a couple of weeks ago. The only difference is the Cardinals did not fumble the ball inside their own 5-yard line for no reason. Mariota
Yeah.
threw 2 interceptions. You know, if they would have given the Titans the ball inside the 5, they probably would have scored and got more points then. But here's what's been happening, in my opinion. They know Mariota is struggling. They're trying to play these bad teams not to lose.
Yeah.
And when you do that, first of all, it's ugly football to watch. And second of all, you have a couple of interceptions at the wrong time or fake a punt and don't make it, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Because you have no room for error. And it's been working, but they got lucky against the Colts, and this time they didn't get lucky.
And no running game to speak of. I mean, that when you're trying to play it safe, you got to have somewhat of a running game. And
well, that's the problem. They can't run the ball consistently, and Mariota is struggling throwing the ball. So what are you supposed to do?
Were you surprised they didn't run more late? Because, I mean, early, it was only, this was never a game that was out of hand at all. Early, they were having success. I mean, Murray was looking pretty good early. And then in the second half, they just went away from it.
Well, I think the Cardinals had a lot to do with that. I heard Arians after the game say, you're not running the ball and beating us. Your quarterback is going to have to beat us. And that they did have some good runs. And I can't remember how long was the Murray run that was called back. Hit like a 25 or 30.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah.
That I heard Malarkey say, and I already thought it myself. That was the best run he's had all year, including the 75-yard run. I mean, he hit the hole and was gone. And
yeah, Conklin was holding, right?
Yes. But
yeah,
they did try to run the ball. To me, they lost the game. Here's where they lost the game. They were ahead 7-6. They're driving. It's a good drive, too. Then you have that interception to Matthews, so you don't get any points. They get the ball back. They actually did run the ball a couple of times, and they got it, I think, to 3rd and 2, I believe. And he threw a pass to Corey Davis, who ran short of the marker, and they didn't get the first down.
Yeah.
Then they got the ball back again, and that's when Mariota threw the interception. And the next thing you know, they're down 12-7. And you do not want to, at least not with the Titans offense, when they fell behind and needed a touchdown and no longer could run the ball. That's one of the reasons the wheels fell off, because they couldn't block Chandler Jones, and the Titan receivers are not getting open on Patrick Peterson, and I think it's Trayvon Williams is the other cornerback, and Honey Badger. A terrible mismatch in the Cardinals' favor. So their chances of coming back were pretty nil.
Well, we can't leave out the fake punt either. I mean, because at the time that was before all that stuff you just described. It was
that was early in the game, and go ahead, but I'll say my piece on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was early third quarter, or I guess late third quarter. Let's see. Yeah, second quarter was over, and we were up 7-3. The Cardinals had just went on a 9-play drive and got a field goal, so we'd been up 7-0 at halftime. Then they come out and get 3, and then it's 3rd and 1 from our own 35, and they run that insane play to Henry that was just blown up from the beginning. And, he, of course, tries to go outside and can't do anything with it. And then 4th and 1, then they go for it, and they actually said they got it at first, which I was like, there's no way he got that. And we saw the rare
overturn.
What do you call it?
Overturn.
Yeah, the overturn of when it's like a ball spot, which you rarely ever see. And I honestly didn't even think there was enough on camera, but he was so far from it that
it was the right call for sure.
Yeah. So that then gives it to the Cardinals right there. The defense actually holds them to 3. And then they make it 7-6. And from there, then is when all the stuff you described happened. They go 5 plays, 45 yards, interception. I guess, were they not in the red zone? Because with that would have been his first. They were at the 27, so he still does not have a red zone pick, but it was very, very close.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Cardinals actually missed a field goal. They went on a 10-play drive, missed a field goal.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Here's what I'll say about the fake punt. That's probably the dumbest thing Malarkey's done since he's been the coach. and here's why. I just said they're playing these games not to lose. Their defense was killing Blaine Gabbert, and the Cardinals couldn't even get a first down. Okay, your offense, the Titans are among the league leaders in 3 and outs. You're down at so even if you get it, the risk and reward is so bad. There's a good chance you're still punting in a few more plays. And if you don't get it, you're giving the Cardinals momentum and putting them in scoring position, which their offense can't get down there, at least to this point in the game. And it made no sense at all. It was definitely stupid.
I was stunned by it. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. Everything you said, I couldn't believe it. The way the defense had been playing, I mean, it wouldn't have shocked me if the game ended 7-3 the way things have been going. If we had just punted and kept going and don't turn the ball over, but then we turn it over on downs there, and then the picks start happening.
Without the interception and without the fake punt, I mean, the Cardinals may not score more than 6 points.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, after the fake punt, then that series of events that you described. So the Cardinals got the field goal, 7-6. Then Titans go 5 plays, 45 yards, ends in the interception. Cardinals come down, miss a field goal. Then we go 3 and out, results in a Cardinals field goal. They take a 9-7 lead. Then we throw an interception. That was on the very first throw of that drive. Then the Cardinals... This is hilarious. They actually go 4 plays for negative 10 yards. But then they get the other field goal. So that makes them 12. And that ends up being the final score of the game, 12-7.
The Titans actually missed a field goal in this game, too, if you remember.
Oh, yeah. Right before the half. It was like 58 yards or something. Yeah.
No, was it that long?
Yeah, it was 58. Hit the crossbar.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, he almost made it. That's right.
Yeah, came pretty close. And then the Cardinals guy missed an easy one.
Yeah, that was just like last week when the Texans drove down on that long drive and then missed a field goal. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then on the plays where we were trying to come back, let's see here. He actually made a couple good passes. That one, Delaney probably should have held on when it got kicked out of his foot or kicked out of his hand.
I mean, I don't think he could have held on it when the guy kicked it out of his hands, though. I mean, he was running full speed and just the guy got lucky. He kicked the ball.
Yeah, it wasn't even like he was trying to.
Yeah, it was just they just kind of ran into each other. I don't think he could have hung on to that, but yeah, that was a good pass. But I got to tell you, I went back and watched it, and a lot of the plays are talked about, but Mariota was pretty bad on some other throws too. There was a pass where Decker was in the middle of the field, and he did drop the ball, but he had to stop and go down real low. There was also a pass to Matthews on the sideline that honestly Matthews broke it up and kept it from getting intercepted from Trayvon Williams.
And there were several times I thought this might have been Davis's best game. He had separation on a couple of occasions, and especially early, and Mariota just missed him.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, with this much time left in the season, it sucks. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. The Titans are 8-5. They're still, well within striking distance for playoffs. But at this point, it's like, I guess with all this news about Mariota today and the injury and seeing what we've seen, I don't feel confident that even, I mean, if they get in, it'll be great. Yeah, we'll be happy. But I don't get the feeling at all that they're going to be able to fix this offense. And I don't get the feeling that they would be the least bit competitive in the playoffs, given the way things are going.
Well, I'll say this. I actually believe Malarkey when he says they're not that far off. If you go back to last year, the offense was terrible. And, it's kind of amazing that just a few things here and there and all of a sudden their offense was good. I don't think they can do that again because they can't run the ball. And Mariota is playing worse than he ever has. But the Cardinals, they beat the Jaguars 2 weeks ago. I mean,
they're a good defense for sure. Yeah.
And, they can easily beat the 49ers, and they can easily, win one of the other games. It could happen. And I never thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl anyway. I mean,
yeah.
I would rather see them in the playoffs more competitive than this, but
right.
They've got problems that they're not going to fix till next year.
Yeah, and I think that's the sad reality that everybody's it's starting to set in at this point. There's just some things that there's no way they're going to be able to fix them in 3 games. Can they get better? Yeah, and they might have. I don't see any kind of. I was thinking about this driving home the other day. It's like we've yet to see anything anywhere close to like the Green Bay game last year when the offense was just, could do no wrong. That was an incredible performance from start to finish. I don't know that they could duplicate anything like that this year.
I don't think so.
We've seen it for a drive here and there. We've seen it for a half. We saw it, against the Seahawks a little bit here and there, against the Jags a little bit, but not for a complete 4-quarter performance.
Well, even like the Seahawks game, and this is true for the Jaguar game too. They had a screen pass to Matthews for like 70-something yards. Mariota threw it behind the line of scrimmage. They had that remember the play to
Smith was the other one in the Seahawks
that
game.
was kind of a schemed up deal where he was wide open. And then they had the 70-something yard run by Murray where he just bounced off everybody. They didn't really sustain offense in that game. It was just basically 2 or 3 big plays that happened in the course of a game that kind of played out like the Cardinal game where they were scratching out here and there. They just happened to get some big plays in the Seahawks game. That last year, their offense was dominating for a long time. And Mariota was, he was standing in the pocket. He was looking off the safety. He's doing everything. Here's what I want to know. They are definitely working around Mariota. They're afraid he'll turn the ball over. And Mariota's saying it. He's saying, I'm hurting offense and all that. What happened from last year to this year that made him think he can't do that he can't execute the offense? That's a
good question.
And he can't. It's not that they just think he can't and they're holding back. He can't. When they've
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, right now. Right. Hey, I still think the guy can be good. I'm hard on him. He's playing bad. But this isn't a Jake Locker situation where, we've seen him do it and I posted this, it's not just the running game. He was doing great, and he was the best 2-minute drill quarterback last year in the league. He was in the top 3 on 3rd and long. That's not the running game.
Well, they don't really even run they don't even really run the high tempo offense here. Sorry, I've been listening for a long time. I just don't trust my internet connection.
That's going to terrify some people when you just come back in like that.
Yeah, okay. But, hey, why don't they run that? Because they're
good question. Because they're too busy running. They're too busy running DeMarco Murray for no yards. That's why.
Well, why did they do it last year?
They're too busy running plays where they have 5 wide receivers run a 4-yard turnaround route. Because they just don't want to do it. That's why.
But they wanted to last year?
Apparently. There's no full explanation for what they're doing this year. I think
it's Mariota. It's Mariota. People don't want to admit it, but it's Mariota. I don't know why, but he's playing poorly.
He really sure is making those offensive linemen not be able to block like they did last year. He's making Jonnu Smith go out there and try to block like what's his name that we lost in the offseason, and he can't do it consistently, and it consistently blows up plays, right? They're not putting their players in position to succeed. I don't care what you say. It's not all Mariota. There's too much else going on.
It's not all Mariota, but he's the main reason. It's about the quarterback. I don't care what team it is. If the quarterback's not playing good, the offense ain't going to be good.
You should probably design around your quarterback then.
Who's going to throw interceptions and throw the ball over everyone's head?
In this offense, maybe?
No. That is a joke. People, first of all, anytime the coaching staff, nobody wanted to hire them. So anytime they
Right.
struggle at all, there's going to be this mob mentality. Oh, I told you they couldn't do it.
Told you this offense was going to be a struggle for Mariota. It's not tailored to his offensive strengths as a passer, right? Isn't that what we said? And what do you see?
How did he do so well last year for such a long time?
He did so well last year in the middle of the season, and by the end of the season, if you recall correctly, we did shit on offense for the last quarter of the season. We had a very short window.
It was 7 or 8 games.
Okay, half the season. For half the season, he played like crap for half the season.
That's a long
Seriously.
time. That's a long time. He proved he could do it.
So in 2 years, for half a season. Sounds like a great offense to me. I mean, how are you defending his fitness offense with 25% of the time he's been in?
Because
it just doesn't make 75% of the time he's not playing well in this offense.
He's mechanically unsound. That has nothing to do with the offense. Do you think if he's in the Rams offense and he's throwing off his back foot, he's going to
I think if he's in the Rams offense, he's going to be surrounded by an offensive staff that is creative and effective at designing an offense that succeeds in today's NFL game. This is Jared Goff playing. He was trash under Jeff Fisher. And by the way, how many times have we heard Mike Mularkey's offense referenced to Jeff Fisher in the 1999 Titans? And guess what? The quarterback sucks in this offense too.
I've never heard that. I've never heard the comparison, but whatever. I don't care what offense it is. You cannot throw off your back foot. You cannot bail from the pocket, when you think there's pressure coming. That is not the offensive design.
But don't you think his overall comfort within an offense could impact those things?
Hey, would I rather have the Rams offensive staff? Yes. They would be better.
Well,
yes.
We could have if they would have actually interviewed people.
I didn't hear anyone talking about hiring him.
That's not our job. That's not our responsibility to know who we're supposed to interview. I mean, that's on the professionals who own the team.
Listen, it's so – I mean, did you see the plays by Baldinger? The guys are open. They are open. He's not reading.
Did you see the plays by Baldinger where he was talking about the play calling?
On the run?
On multiple of them. He was making – so early in the game, he showed a play where he said, you can't be doing all these dickum plays until you're successful. There's too much of this going on at the beginning. He's talking about misdirection.
Yeah, right? On the running play. Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so he's referencing in one tweet, he's referencing many plays early in the game. Then how finally the last play of the first quarter is the first play where you actually line up and try to be successful, just moving guys off the ball. If that's the offense you want to be, why aren't you doing it?
They can't. They can't do that.
Then it sounds like you designed an offense totally against what your team is capable of doing, including the quarterback.
Well, that's because Murray's, he's a shell of himself. That's why they can't run the ball.
The line can't play this year. Why is that?
Oh, I disagree. I think the offensive line can run block. We've seen several breakdowns where there's holes and Murray doesn't get yards.
Did you guys hear Greg Cosell today?
No, I didn't.
It's kind of what he said too. He said this offense isn't designed around the team's strengths. He said they're better pass blocking, and I dropped a coin. He said they're better pass blocking than they are run blocking. Then he actually said their receivers aren't as bad as everybody's saying, and that the strengths of the team are what they're playing is not to the strengths of the team, basically.
I think if you had a quarterback in here right now that was playing well, I think Corey Davis and Matthews and them would be putting up good numbers. I think the receivers are getting a bad rap. I do. And I'm sorry, but that's because of Mariota.
Yeah, but I think there's so many things that factor into this, we all can see he's not playing well, right? I mean,
I don't agree that everyone can see that. It's so much better as a fan to blame the play caller. Those are easy things to fix. If it's the quarterback, uh-oh.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't get why you can't understand, like, just the example Jamal gave about Jared Goff last year. Look how much different he looks. Carson Wentz from one year to the next.
Carson Wentz was good as a rookie.
Yeah, and so was Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, he was in stretches. I don't know what he was last year in the same offense. He had a 96 pass rate. He threw 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions or whatever.
Yeah, I think at times he's good enough, was good enough to overcome those things, but in the long term,
he was overcoming the offense.
At times, yeah.
Tell me what offense. Jamal said he should be in the New England offense. What do you think he should be in?
He should be, we've talked about this many times. He should be in a quick passing offense that plays to his strength of a rhythm quarterback that spreads the field out and gives him lots of options.
He's not reading the field. There's on some of the ball dinger plays, there were people spread out.
Scotty, listen. Let's say I agree he's not reading the field, but let's dive in deeper. Let's say why. How did this happen? If he's not comfortable in the overall offense, that's what I'm saying, though. If he's not comfortable with the protections, with the scheme, with the way, the routes that the receivers, where he needs to look, then doesn't that tell them there's a problem, that they might need to tweak that a bit? Might there be a better offense out there, a better overall fit for him?
There are plenty of receivers open. You see it. Their breakdowns. It shows them. He's missing them.
But,
I don't care what offense you have to hit open receivers. It's very simple.
Right, but I'm saying his overall comfort level. We're talking about him not setting his feet. We're talking about him looking uncomfortable in the pocket. All of these things. You can't just say, "Oh, there's an open receiver." We don't know if that's what read that is of his. We don't know. Well, from some camera angles, we don't know how many guys are out in patterns. We don't know what kind of protection, what kind of blocking protection they have set up on that play that he has to be responsible for. He's not playing well at all. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I just think there is way more that goes into this, and scheme is a huge factor.
That's what you hope. It's total speculation. And, I wish Jamal was here. He said he wanted the New England doesn't even have an offense. I heard the other day they have played more heavy sets the last 4 or 5 weeks than any other team in the league. Why isn't Brady struggling in this heavy set offense?
I mean, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. So,
yeah, and quarterback transcends the scheme when they're good.
How many years has he been in the league? When Mariota's been in the league 15 years, yeah, I think he could.
Hey, and you know what?
That long.
I agree. I don't even think it's the end of the world because he's struggling. Other quarterbacks have struggled early in their career. It doesn't mean you scrap everything and start over.
No, yeah.
Unless you're the Browns or one of these sucky teams that's what they always do.
Right.
I just refuse to let.
How did New England do with?
Well, I mean, they went 11-5. Is that your point?
Well, and when he was suspended, how about that?
Well, I mean, you want to branch it out further? Belichick has a losing record without Brady. Mike McCarthy has a losing record without Aaron Rodgers. I mean, when these guys don't have their franchise quarterback, their teams suck.
But is that true with the Patriots? I mean, you have to go back, 20 years to make a point? Before he was with the Patriots and had a system in place and had.
Do you want to go deeper? I mean, the Cardinals missed a short game-winning field goal against the Pats for one of the Pats' wins. I mean, is that because they're so great they don't need their quarterback? I mean, one of their other wins, Brissett ran for like 100 yards at quarterback. I mean, it's not like their system, overcame the loss of Brady.
Right. So here's my question. Doing what they're going to do, and it's their system, and that's just the way it is. And if the offensive line can't block it, if the wide receivers can't run the routes, if the tight ends can't block, if the quarterback can't make the throws, this is what we do, and it's going to look the same. The answer is no. Sure. The answer is
How did
no.
how did they beat the Colts the first time?
I don't even remember the specific game
That
first time.
Mariota played from the pocket and they did play action throughout the whole game. They didn't just run the
Because he
ball,
couldn't move, right?
huh?
I
We
got
lost. We
I got
lost him, but I think he was admitting he was wrong. I couldn't hear what he said.
No, that's
I heard
So,
that. You said something about moving, right?
okay. Let me ask y'all this: they should just throw the ball all over, spread the field, and throw the ball over while Mariota's
Not right
struggling.
now. No.
Okay, what?
no.
What
I would say that you take time to set a system. Season. They're not fixing it this year.
I agree.
Design a system around Mariota, it would not be this offense. And we talked about that when this offense was being drawn up, and people denied what it would look like, and it's looked like that. Or to design an offense around Marcus Mariota, it simply would not be this offense. That the quarterback has to play well to win, then why the heck aren't you designing an offense around Marcus Mariota?
Well, I think they are. There's a few things. Does Mariota get hurt pretty easy? Everyone complains about the max. Yeah, of course he does. They need to max protect. They need to run the ball.
Do you know? So what are some other ways to protect a quarterback? Is it possible that spreading horizontally and throwing quick passes might also protect the quarterback? Because that's what's done across the NFL.
And they do some of that too. I mean, that
they hardly ever do that in this offense. Come on. Sometimes I hit the ball well. I'm not a pro.
Well, I'll just say this. It's not getting fixed this year, but would it be a surprise if the offense was really good next year? No, it wouldn't. They can fix this. And Mariota can play well in the offense. We've already seen it. And, they go through and well, so you've already seen it.
I saw it for 25% of the time. To this small, short window and ignoring the rest of his time in this offense.
John, did you think that was a small window that Mariota played so well in last year?
I mean, it was, what did we say, 7-8 games?
Yeah, which is not a quarter of the season.
Middle of the season.
And at the end of the season, they did play two of the tougher defenses in the league, too.
It was a quarter of 2 seasons.
It was zero. It was 0 degrees. It was 0 degrees in one of those games.
I'm sure quarterbacks manage to play at 0 degrees at times across the NFL.
Well, they don't put up big numbers.
I could probably show you some that do. Backs who are out there throwing the ball. I mean, just so many easy excuses. Oh, the weather.
Well, I don't need to make
when
excuses.
The weather's bad.
He had a great.
Bad.
He had a great season last year. Period.
Spent a whole lot of that season blaming him for losses.
He lost several games.
So he had a great season. All of the games that he lost.
Well, overall, he had a great season, but do you think he lost some games early in the season?
Yes. And I think that he did not play well to end the season either. And then he has not played well this year. A whole lot of the time he's been in this offense, you've seen him struggle. Big concern.
Well, I'm not going to deny he's struggling now. Why he's struggling, I don't know.
Neither do I, but I have some strong bias.
Yeah, those are the same opinions you had before you ever saw him play.
Yes. I thought he would be bad in an offense like this, and I thought we should design a different offense. And now that he is bad in an offense like this, I'm saying I told you so. That's true.
Well, just like you were told I told you so when I said the offense was a juggernaut last year and you agreed.
Did you not remember agreeing that they were a juggernaut?
You said it on the podcast. I made a post that said the Titans offense is a juggernaut. You said you made that post, and I have to agree they are.
They must have had a good game.
Was the sarcasm on?
At that point,
Uh,
At that
I
point,
mean, no, because
No, I
the
know.
fact of the matter is, you can look out the
Hey.
window and see it's raining sometimes, even if you live that doesn't rain often.
How many games in a row did Mario?
Time, if you look at this offense, it has played well. And if you ask me at that time, I would say this offense is performing well. And it's not.
Here's one thing I'll ask you, Scotty. Do you agree with those comments who say that this offense has to be what's the word? That so much has to be perfect for it to work.
No, that's ridiculous. You know what the truth is? Everything around Mariota has to be perfect. I'll go back to the Baldinger breakdowns. There's guys open. He's not getting them the ball. Or it's a bad pass. Just like a couple weeks ago, the Jonnu Smith on the sideline. You were upset, said he should have got his feet down. It was a bad pass. Just throw accurate passes and the offense will work. That's all quarterbacking
so he
is.
has to be perfect. Okay.
What? Wait a minute.
That's the point being made.
He needed to be a perfect. That was an easy NFL pass. That was not perfect. That's basic.
The ball catchable. Throw it to somewhere where it's really easily catchable.
Exactly. That's what makes Brady and
so
Rodgers
what you're
great.
saying is he needs to throw perfect passes. That's what you're saying. Not passes that are good enough to catch.
Yeah, that's
what you're saying.
No, it's not. Jonnu Smith had to tap 2 feet on the sideline. He had to make a spectacular catch, which he should have caught it. It was a difficult catch, but he should have caught it. He was wide open.
So the same with Decker that you were talking about this game, right? You were saying was behind him. He had to turn around. He should have caught it, right?
Yeah.
Been perfect on that throw, and then it would have been.
Well, I guess we have different definitions of perfect. Accurate passes where the receiver can easily catch the ball. I don't call that perfect. I call that basic NFL quarterbacking.
What is not perfect about it?
The fact that he had to stop his route and go down to the ground and try to catch it.
The pass that you want. If you wouldn't call it perfect, I'm wondering what is not perfect about what you're asking for. For a pass that's like right in the guy's hands, middle of his chest.
I mean, are you being for real right now?
What's not perfect about that?
Are you seriously being for real?
If you passes to always be right at the guy, why won't you say that you want the passes to be perfect?
Because I don't call that perfect.
Perfect scenario. Why is that?
I guess Decker and Smith should have caught those passes and the offense would have been just fine. It's not too much to ask a quarterback to throw an accurate pass, and that's not being perfect.
There's quite often, right?
No, he doesn't. He's struggling with it most of the year.
On a down-to-down basis.
I mean, if you want to go over play by play, does he throw good passes? Yes. He had a 39 rating the other day. He had a 51% completion percentage. No, he's not consistently throwing good passes.
Which is pretty rare for him for the completion percentage. I guess what I would want to say about this is you can identify passes that are bad when you throw passes that are good enough for a wide receiver to catch. Complain about. And if you are complaining about those and that's the point you want to make, I don't think you're pointing out the biggest problems he has.
What is he, second in the league in interceptions?
Mm-hmm.
Can go. He's got a 76 passer rating. That sucks. That's for the whole year. And
it's not interceptions are not passes. That's what I'm saying. The interceptions are actively bad passes. I would complain about. I wouldn't complain about passes that are good enough. That gets nitpicky when there's a lot to complain about with him right now.
If you want a good NFL offense, yes, you have to throw accurate passes that the receivers can catch and get yards after catch. Yes, that's not asking too much. That's not asking perfect. That's what the good offenses do.
I don't even think this offense is designed for yard after catch in the first place. How this offense is designed. guys open in space. That, I mean, it's just not the offensive design. But regardless, yes, accurate passes. I'm saying when you're complaining, why are you complaining about the passes that were good enough?
Because they weren't good
Why
enough.
not complain about? Well, they were good enough to catch.
And
Like,
I mean,
you just said, you gave 2 examples where you said, yeah, he should have caught it, but this offense with Marcus Mariota, even
I think we're losing it too much, Jamal.
Okay.
it's a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous point anyway. I mean, we're defending Mariota because bad passes should have been caught. I mean, that's ridiculous. James Lofton said it was a terrible pass that Decker dropped. He said it.
Yeah, he also called out a lot of bad play calls too. I mean,
he said one that he was wrong about. 2 guys out on the route.
Yeah.
Well, there was actually 3.
When the game's on the line.
Okay. Do you want to put Dennis Kelly on Chandler Jones?
Of course not.
Well, then you have to leave people in the block.
What about that last play? What's the defense for that?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I'll tell you what happened on the last play. Okay, who are you going to throw the ball to on 4th down there? It's an easy answer.
Wide receivers.
Delaney.
Of course it's Delaney.
Who was out?
Yeah, he got knocked out of the game. You're going to throw it to one of the wide receivers? First of all, Mariota had been pressured on every other pass in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. Second of all, Patrick Peterson and Honey Badger and even their other cornerback, you're not going to win those matchups. So they tried to throw a quick pass to one of their best playmakers. Is it ideal? No. Is it a terrible idea? No. It's way down. They're not retarded for trying to do it.
I just think if you haven't even practiced it, I mean, come on now. Like, you don't have enough confidence in the receivers to do that.
Or the protection and the receivers.
It's pretty sad.
Well, did you see their plays before that?
They were all pretty sad, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was worth a shot. You get it in his hands, he can get open. He can create space.
Well, to be fair, he had Delaney on both of those. Those were both good passes, and defenders made great play. The one where the guy kicked it, and then the other one where he just drilled him in the back. Remember that one? And Delaney
that's what knocked him out on 4th down.
Yeah, he dropped that one too.
But I mean, we're nitpicking certain things. I mean, the bottom line is he's not playing well. And he's not setting up in the pocket. He's not doing anything well.
I know. I think we've all said that. It's just, I like to try and dig a little bit deeper and figure out the why behind this. Why? Is it just he all of a sudden sucks? Is it because he's injured? Is it because it's a mental thing? Is it because the offense doesn't suit him? Is it because the play calling is bad? Is it because of all these things?
It's definitely a combination. And hey, there's other things wrong with the offense too. It's clear they know. It's clear they know they messed up with the second tight end. I mean, they signed. It's clear they know that was a mistake.
Which maybe he'll be ready this week. Stalker, the guy they signed,
and that's a Robinson deal there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he knew him from Tampa.
No, I mean it's a Robinson deal that they don't have a second tight end that can play on the line of scrimmage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I said back when they lost Fasano, I thought that was a really
they thought
move.
They thought they ran the ball so well, we can just get by with him there. And they can't. Which, I mean, Murray's part of the problem too. And
all right, so I don't want to go on to – I mean, we probably talked enough about the offense, but one more thing I want to just ask and get out there is about this the whole idea with the receivers and the routes. Have you ever heard a coach talk so much about routes, Scotty, as Malarkey has talked about them?
I mean, I've said all along, don't even put much stock in what the coaches say to the press and everything. I mean, I know when the Oilers ran the run and shoot. By the way, I mean, first of all, let me say I think the first interception was on Matthews. But
Yeah.
I listened to Mario today, and he explained why he said it was his fault. And I don't believe what he says either. I mean,
Yeah, he
according
always takes the blame
well,
regardless.
according to him, that's an option route. He can either go in or out. It's based on the coverage. He said he threw it before before you're supposed to decide which option to take or whatever. Which who knows if that's true or not. But when the Oilers, to your original question, when the Oilers ran the run and shoot, I mean, that's all they talked about was the routes, and they did the option routes and all that stuff. And, if one guy did the wrong thing, it messed up the whole play and stuff. So, I mean,
yes,
I think some of the stuff that he said, he defends Mariota at every turn, and he blames the receivers. I think even when it's not their fault. And
oh yeah, I agree with that.
I definitely think that's something to do with the receivers, but I think the receivers, especially Taylor, and I mean, what did Taylor do on the first?
Oh gosh,
play? He's wide up. What's he doing there? I mean, and
Yeah.
Corey Davis, he's been plenty bad himself.
Yeah.
And he ran the route short. So
what you said there about the run and shoot and how it's like if one thing went wrong, messed up the whole play. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier about if this offense needs to be too perfect. Because I feel like maybe perfect was the wrong word, because I just feel like anytime one little thing, it's like, well, this receiver ran the wrong route, or this receiver didn't have the proper depth, so the whole play was screwed up.
Well,
I just feel like as much as they've talked about, it's like we've seen Kendall Wright wasn't capable of doing this. Corey Davis, who's known as, that was his thing from college. This guy's a great route runner. Tajay Sharp, same thing. None of these guys, Eric Decker, it's like none of these receivers can get it. Rashard Matthews.
Matthews has played well last year and this year. I mean,
yeah, but even Malarkey, he even calls him out all the time, like, oh, he ran a bad route there. I mean, Matthews was even complaining about it a few weeks ago on Twitter. He was talking about, I guess it's always the receiver's fault.
Yeah, why don't you blame the quarterback? He's the one that did it wrong. That's probably what he's thinking.
Yeah, I'm just at some point as a coach, even if, let's say everything you said is true. Let's say the offense is 100% fine.
Well, I didn't say that.
No, I mean scheme. My fault. Scheme. Like, let's say the scheme is fine. Receivers are open, all this. Even if all that is 100% true, at some point as a coaching staff, because it inevitably falls on them. I mean, they're the ones who are going to get fired. They're not going to release every player. Mariota is more important than Malarkey.
Oh, but yeah. He'll be here after Malarkey's gone, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, so I put myself in the position of a coach. Like, at what point do you have to say, okay, maybe this scheme is fine, but at what point do I have to make adjustments? And like we said, this isn't going to happen this year. But at what point as a coach do you have to say, we've got to adjust some things. We've got to change some things. Really what we're doing is not working, and at least in terms of results. It may be getting people open, but overall, it's not cutting it in terms of points. I think we're past that point, and they just keep sticking with it. But
you think there's an answer? There may not be an answer. There may not be something they can just do all of a sudden, and the offense be better.
Well, no, I didn't say all of a sudden. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, there's 3 games left.
Long term.
Well, I did.
No, I just said in the offseason, I think they've got to take an inward look and really evaluate what kind of changes can they make. I think that's what separates good coaches, average coaches from great coaches. Great coaches always adapt. The Patriots change their offense every year.
Yeah, it's easy to do when you have Tom Brady.
Yeah, but even before he got this good.
Well, he was always pretty good. They didn't, they ran the ball. They played defense, all that stuff. But anyway, did you listen to the Malarkey show? I normally don't, but somebody posted it, so I actually listened to part of it.
The only thing I saw was the thing where people were talking about him complaining about the media. I didn't see anything else.
That's so stupid. No, he said we evaluate the coaching staff after every game, the play calls. They do that. I mean, all NFL teams
And they
do
think
that.
it's all fine.
No,
We keep thinking this is close. We're
That's
close.
well, I believe that's true. I believe that's true. If
Close to scoring 1 point every once in a while. That's about all they're close to.
well, here's what I was going to say a while ago, John. It's not the offense they need to fix. And if you want to blame them for what's wrong with Mariota, that's a better argument. What's wrong with Mariota? I mean, he's mechanically and his confidence, which I think it's funny that everyone wants Jason Michaels to call the plays. And
I'm with you on that.
He's the one responsible for coaching the quarterback.
I'm with you on that. Yep.
So some of the reasoning is just ridiculous. If you want to talk about what's wrong with him, but here's back to when we first started talking about it. They knew something was wrong with him from the start of the season. They were working around him and trying not to expose him early on. And I just wonder what they saw in training camp or whatever that
it would have to be the injury. I mean,
that's what I think it is. I think that's one of the main things that's wrong with him. And he's been in he was in the spread in college, and I bet you it's going to take a long time to get used to just, muscle memory of playing under center and playing NFL quarterback. And it seems like when he starts struggling, he reverts to some of the stuff that he had bad habits on.
Yeah.
And I just think
what were they doing early in the season? Made you think they were hiding him?
They were playing. I mean, they were running a bunch of screens. They were scheming up pass plays like we were talking about against Seattle. They weren't attacking downfield like they did last year. When the offense was humming, they have definitely changed the offense from last year to this year. Would you agree with that? No, they just run Murray.
I do for sure. I was seeing if it was gonna come through or not on Jamal.
No, I think that there are things that they did really well last year passing the ball that they just don't do much this year.
Okay,
last year for how much success they had with it.
Okay, they know, like against the Steelers, the more he throws the ball, the more apt he is to throw an interception or something bad. And he said, he's saying it himself. He's being honest about what's wrong with him. People don't want to believe him, but the broadcast crew talked about it during the game. They said they sat down with him and he was frank about how his mechanics are bad. He's turning the ball over. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the injury. That's the only thing that makes sense. Now, some of the skill, they're not running the ball as well. And, I think Corey Davis and, he was hurt and the receivers have struggled. There's two of them are rookies. I mean, I'm sure all that stuff has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But the basic thing is the question's not what's wrong with the offense. The question is what's wrong with Mariota.
The offense.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg, right?
No, there are enough that you can point to in a given game where you can say, what the hell are they to do with this play design?
Don't you think you can do that with
no problem at all pointing to the offense?
Don't you think you could pull up the Patriots game Monday night against the Dolphins and say the same thing? That's one of the
question some of the big games.
Oh yes. Now the fans can get the all 22 and they can go through there and pick out the screenshots. What are they doing here and stuff? I mean,
and so can professionals like Brian Baldinger, and he can say, "What are you doing here? This direction. Why don't you just line up and try to knock people off the ball?
Why don't you throw it to this open guy?
4-yard routes."
Baldinger didn't say
that.
Baldinger didn't say that.
Yes, he did. It's in one of those tweets. He's making fun of the fact that they ran 5 routes for 4 yards on a 2nd and 14. And he's saying, look how none defenders move. They're covering it completely. 7-yard gain worth risking your injury-prone quarterback. He's calling it out.
Okay, I admit there's bad plays. on all 32 teams.
Yeah. No, and the difference is always how often do you think those bad plays are happening? And
Right.
it's the same with a quarterback. Every quarterback is going to throw bad throws, but how often is he throwing bad throws, and how bad is the bad throw? I think the offense, there are way too many plays. What are they doing?
I can't claim to know like how it compares to other teams just because I don't watch them enough. I feel like there's a lot for sure for us, but it's just hard to say when you
don't make me break out the quote. You think you know, quote. You don't know, and you'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, if I watched all the other teams, maybe I could compare, but
I still don't think you would.
All I know, yeah, unless you just literally went through and tracked every single one, and then it's a lot of it's subjective. But what I was gonna say to kind of wrap this all up is, it sounds like with these last 3 games, none of us are feeling all that great about how this is gonna pan out, even if they make the playoffs. I will say this: I think absolutely. I don't know why some people are saying, I don't want to be one and done in the playoffs. I just don't even want them to make it. I mean, come on. It's been so long since this franchise has gotten into the playoffs.
And anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yes, they would have to be better than they've shown. Sure.
Most of the other
AFC probably won't show it.
Most of the other AFC teams suck too, that are going to be in the playoffs. They already beat the Ravens and Jaguars.
And that you're bad. All you want to do is, I just want to make the playoffs. And then you make the playoffs and you say, yeah, but we're not really good yet.
That's a great point.
Like, I don't care what anyone says. Bad teams, but we consistently beat them. We're not bad ourselves anymore. We're just not good.
Hey, I lived in Dallas when they won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. When they didn't beat a team by so many points, the fans were calling in nonstop and complaining.
Oh my God!
The fans will never.
I believe it.
I'm dead serious about that. At some point, it's never enough. I mean,
what's crazy is this: we could have an identical record, but if Mariota had a better statistical year, the vibe would be just like so much more positive.
It's all context.
But long term, long term, that's really that's more important than the record, is how he's developing.
It's scary to see him play this bad. It's scary.
Yeah.
And week after week.
Yes. Whatever the reason.
One bad game, whatever, but consistently.
And he's getting worse, it seems like, right?
This last game was as bad as I've seen. Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at his passer rating, I think he actually had a 90-something passer rating last week, which was kind of deceiving, but I think it steadily went down.
Mm-hmm. All right, so how are you guys feeling about this week?
Well, how's Vegas feeling? They have a 3-5 team favored over the 8-5 team.
A lot of the people picking this game too. I saw the majority are picking SF.
It's going to be a close game. It's going to be another close game. The Titans can win it. Like we were talking about, if they hadn't done the fake punt and the interception, they could have beat the Cardinals as bad as they played. And the 49ers, I mean, they're not.
Their defense is not what we just played, that's for sure.
No, they have won 2 games in a row. I'll give them that. I can't remember who they played.
Since Garoppolo started, they're 2-0.
I haven't seen him myself, but everyone's raving about how well he's playing.
Let's see their schedule here. They beat the Bears by 1, and then they beat the Texans by 10. So I mean, this is their first. I saw where someone posted on Titans Report. This will be the first home game with Garoppolo, so the fans are going to be into this one. But yeah, it's a game the Titans can win. It's the scariest thing is knowing how Mariota's played. It's like if he can't, if he can just protect the ball, I think they can win this game, honestly. But
hey, you sound like Malarkey. That's exactly what he tries to do every week. I mean, they just try to keep him from turning the ball over and try to win a close game.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I'd love more than anything for them to come out and have an offensive explosion, but we've been saying that all year, and at this point, it's kind of foolish to keep not even predicting it, but even half expecting it. So I don't expect it here. And if they lose this game, then I think you're going to see the implosion. We thought this week was bad on Titans Twitter and Titans Report and all the social places where Titans fans gather. But if they drop this game, everything is going to go crazy for sure. Because then you've got two tough games against two of the better teams in the NFL this year, in terms of record at least. And just for an update on,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
we're not favored this game. Definitely won't be favored the next two after that.
Yep.
This is kind of a Garoppolo. They've won a couple of games. He's certainly better than the guys they had out there before. Really, nobody knows, and so it's an easy one to just kind of say, "Oh, we'll predict it."
Right.
I think that's why I thought the Cardinals game was so big. They needed that 9th win against the Cardinals are probably the worst team left.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
49ers, but
they're
pretty close.
Who knows about Garoppolo? But
yeah, with him in there,
Blaine Gabbert was pretty bad.
Yeah, so I mean, just for update on playoff scenarios. I mean, it's 9 wins. Still looks like it has a decent shot to get it done. 10 wins almost certainly gets it done. And of course, if they win all 3, they're definitely going to be in. But even with 9 wins, guys, even with 9 wins, they're going to need a lot to fall their way. The Bills, Dolphins, Ravens, Chargers, Chiefs in particular, those are all really important games. And because of the Titans' poor conference record, they do not win a lot of tiebreakers. So you can go on to the ESPN playoff machines and the playoff simulators to check all that out. But particularly Buffalo is a team that we want to lose. And, of course, we don't win a head-to-head against the Dolphins.
The Bills and Dolphins play each other twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think it's best for us, if I remember right, I think it's best if they actually split those games. Not asking for too much. But I think the Chiefs would win the tiebreaker with us. I mean, it's too complicated to dive into on a podcast, but people can go online and read it on Titans Report or other websites. The Chargers and Chiefs in particular, because I think they have identical records right now, and one's obviously going to win the division. The other is going to have a good shot at a wild card. Right now, the Titans are the 5th seed. Buffalo is the 6th seed at 7-6. Titans are 8-5. It's crazy to think too, if Buffalo hadn't benched Tyrod Taylor, they might be 8-5 as well. But and then Jacksonville, big win over Seattle, so they're in the driver's seat now for the division. It looks like they'll win out because they have nobody left. Except,
Jacksonville's a serious contender.
Yeah, with that defense.
Their defense.
Yes.
Championship defense.
And Bortles is playing better. He's playing okay.
Yeah, he's not looked bad from what I've seen.
He's serviceable.
Yeah. And I think they've got the Texans and Colts left, and then us. Whoever it is, I know they've got the Texans left.
So they've got 3 cream puffs left.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's crazy is if I've pointed this, the 49ers, they're at the 49ers after the Texans. So maybe Garoppolo could do us a favor there, but I don't see it against that defense.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather the Jaguars lock up the division so they don't even play their starters in the finale? I mean, seriously.
I think they would have something to play for regardless, because they actually hold tiebreakers over
probably
Steelers and Patriots.
Probably because the Patriots lost Monday night. That probably.
Yeah, so if they could, it depends on Patriots and Steelers play this upcoming week. But there's a scenario where the Jags could actually still get a bye, so they might have something to play for. I mean, I still want to win the division, as long shot as it seems right now. If we actually go into the game with Jacksonville a game behind them,
that'd be awesome,
and we win, then we would have the tiebreaker because that'd be 2 wins over them. But the way, I mean, if you project it, even if you give the Titans a win against the 49ers, you're probably going to give them a loss to the Rams. And then that puts them 2 behind the Jags if the Jags beat the Texans and 49ers. So it's not looking good on the division front. And what's crazy is if you had to pick one game for them to win, we actually would want it to be the Jacksonville game because of the tiebreakers. Beating the 49ers doesn't help us as much as beating the Jags would, actually, in terms of the tiebreakers. So,
or the Rams.
Yeah, exactly. The NFC teams, it doesn't really help us as much as the Jags would.
I just hope they don't lose out.
Yeah, same. I mean, we mentioned it last week. We talked about how disastrous it would be. Go ahead, Jamal.
If I can only imagine how it's going to be among fans. Like, if they lose out, there's no question that they'll be seriously looking at, okay, what are we doing at coaching? Are we comfortable?
I think what would happen, here's the worst scenario in my opinion. Malarkey will not get, sometimes they just give him a 2-year extension. He definitely won't get an extension. I don't think they'll fire him no matter what happens.
I think if they lost out, I would expect he would survive with coordinator changes. I think if you lose out, miss the playoffs as it's been gifted to them, I think that you have to make some changes. It'd be a hard sell to make no changes.
I mean, I've said so many times every coach needs 3 years. And I don't like coaches going into a year extension beyond that. Right. So I honestly think almost no matter what, year extension, a 2-year extension, whatever, people will freak out. But I want it to happen. If they lose out, that's going to be a good sell to fans.
Yeah, I agree. Though, I mean, you have to, especially like if the scenario I mentioned plays out and they make coordinator changes, you really have to give him an extension then to give the coordinators comfort.
I mean, I just don't agree with making coordinator changes just to make a sell. If you think that you need to change the coordinators, do it. But
if they lose out, I'll think it even more. I know that much.
Okay, that's another thing. I mean, do you really think Trubisky makes a big difference on the offense?
Yeah.
To me, it would almost be like changing out the microphone in the quarterback's helmet. You know what I mean? He's not
of who's really designing stuff, but his play calling just so often feels out of rhythm.
Well, we already have Malarkey or Trubisky on record saying Malarkey it comes to him several times angry, and he yells at him and goes away.
I just think that's a case of, during the game, you're, just like, Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels, the great head coach Josh McDaniels arguing with each other. It would be like, oh, man, he's already mad at Brady for missing an open receiver. I just think that's too much
at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think Trubisky was just being too honest about Malarkey,
I thought he meant that like after game, like during meetings that week is the way I took it.
No, he said
that's the way I took it too. But
why do you keep calling? Why do you keep calling? Halfback dive. I can't remember.
No, he definitely said that too. But I think I'd have to go back and listen to the interview. But I thought he had another thing where he added at the end. He's like, and then we come and meet and we talk about it, and he yells or says his piece, and then
I don't think
goes on.
I don't think he means, man, he's about to fire me. I'm so dumb I can't call the plays. Which I'm here to say, I mean, he's terrible in the interviews. He looks like a total doofus. No doubt about
it. Who looks like a bigger doofus, him or Caldwell? Caldwell looks more like a deer in the headlights.
Caldwell looks like he has no business. Like, man, are they going to realize I shouldn't be out here?
Isn't it crazy? There was a time when it looked like he might be the guy we were going to hire.
Caldwell?
Before we hired Wisenhunt.
Hey, I definitely think that the way these guys look, though, is how a lot of fans judge them, though.
Oh, yeah.
No Bill Cowher, big jawed, big strong guy. And, I think, Malarkey and the Jaguars head coach, Marone, kind of dumpy big guys. That's not who you want as your head coach. You want even Wisenhunt was, he kind of looked like a butt kicker, and I think the fans. It's almost like the president. People want to vote for the president that looks like
Apparently not.
Oh man!
Usually,
now we've gone off the deep end.
Who looks like they're more clueless, Caldwell or Trump? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I think people are going to enjoy this episode.
When they talk.
I think it's going to be a popular one, except for Jamal's.
I'm actually not skipping. Just can't quite formulate a thought and get it out.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, really?
I didn't think that part was very bad.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we will talk to you guys again next week, and hopefully the fires will be put out this week, and the Titans will get a win, and then we'll at least be able to reassess where things stand after that, and in terms of the whole playoff race. Because, I mean, just the way things have went downhill, missing the playoffs would be just such a colossal disappointment. At least if you get in the playoffs, that's something positive we can grasp and build on and hold on to, despite what we've talked about, the lackluster quarterback play and offense that we've seen all year. So anything else you guys want to add before we hop off here? Been going a little while.
Before this year and last year, we were looking at the top pick in the draft, or the second pick.
That's true.
We were
Even
watching.
now,
We were watching games that were 20 to 30 point blowout losses.
On his fourth draft.
That was definitely cutting out. You weren't pausing for thoughts on that one.
That was on his fourth mock draft at this point.
Oh, Kyle's on his fourth mock draft. Yeah.
I told you we should have drafted this guy. Yeah, you did.
and 50 other players. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there was a post, one of our friends who's been on the show before, TGO, was talking about free agent targets. I'm like, oh, I just can't do it yet. I can't go there yet. We're still in a. Oh, and you posted one too, I guess. Yeah, Scotty, for next year about a potential target for running back.
What's funny is I had already planned on posting that, and I saw he posted that. I was like, oh man, everyone's doing this now.
We're already starting to shift the mindset. But hey, week 15 is much better than week 8 when we've usually been shifting the focus. But yeah, hopefully the audience got a lot out of that discussion. And I mean, there's certainly a lot going on. I think that's one thing we all agree on. There's many factors going on here, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the meeting rooms to figure out what they're saying behind closed doors, because
you may not like it.
We may not. It's an interesting case study for sure. But this has been episode 151 of the Two Tone Crew. You can find us online at titansreport.com. You can find us on iTunes. Be sure to rate and review us there. You can find us on Stitcher, other podcast services such as Google Play. We're on Twitter at Titans Report. There's also a Facebook group, facebook.com/Titans Report. And that is it. Thank you guys for all your support. We'll talk to you again very soon.